You're watching Girls Talk and we're filming here in Wall Street Mall, and it is with great pleasure we've got the real chef here right now, Cam from LOL. Now you'll see LOL when you come into Wall Street Mall. As you walk through, it's the lovely cafe on your left. Now you are the chef there.
That's me.
How long have you been working for LOL
Since
for?
we opened it just over a year ago.
Well, we love LOL, and you're here to show us a few things today, not only on how to prepare the perfect egg, and we'll get to salmon shortly, but right now, hollandaise sauce. What's the secret behind good hollandaise sauce?
There's a few tricks, and I'll show you all of them. I've been making hollandaise for a long time, probably over 1,000 or 2,000 hollandaises. You have to make it every day, so you get a lot of practice, and it's always a little bit different because eggs obviously are always a little bit different. So there's a bit of skill, but the more you do it, the better you get, and the easier it is. And I'll give you the tricks to make it work every time. Okay,
now is it true though to make a good hollandaise, you've got to have a really strong wrist? Because you're you're whisking flat out?
Yeah, you'll
right?
see. Yeah, a little bit.
Great.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, let's go for it.
Okay, so free range eggs, fresh as possible, always better. So what we're going to do, and I just do this with my hands. If you can use a spoon if you want, but I'm quick in the morning, so I have to do this really quickly. So we do that, and I'm just going to throw that in there. We do use the egg whites for baking later, but not with these ones.
Okay, so we're actually after that, the yolks,
just the
not
yolk.
The whites.
That's right.
Done.
Yep. All right, so I've got eggs, and what I've got in here as well is originally you had to do it with a reduction of vinegar and shallots and peppers and all that kind of thing. It takes a long time and it's not really worth it. I just use really good white wine vinegar and a little bit of water, which is like a safety net to stop it from splitting.
Right,
which is when the emulsion turns back into oil and nothing. So over the heat, that's water in there. I've got a little bit of vinegar in there because I'm going to poach eggs in it later.
Sure.
You don't need the vinegar. So this is going to take a little while.
So Cam, when you said, it's not say one egg, but you're doing 4, can I ask you a really simple or crazy question? I don't know what you call it, silly question. Why do you not do a dozen eggs at a time when you make hollandaise for LOL? Because obviously you're going through it. Why do you decide to do 2 batches?
It's a little bit unsafe to keep. This is a really high protein environment and it's kept warm, so this is the kind of place that bacteria would love to grow in.
Right.
And so we don't want to keep it around for longer than a couple of hours. Really.
Okay.
So you wouldn't want to keep it and then make it and use it tomorrow or anything like that. That's why you don't want to stick your finger in it. In case you've got anything grub on your finger, it'll grow in there. So it's more of a safety issue than anything else. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that. That's what we've got. It's quite thick.
That's amazing how quickly that's sort of done that.
We've got a really nice fast boil going on there. So if I kept cooking that now, it would turn into scrambled eggs.
Right.
Yeah, and that would be bad. Just turn that off. Okay, so now what I've got in here is melted butter, and that's half a block of melted butter with 4 eggs. And I'm going to use all of that. I'm going to use the liquid in the bottom as well, because what's in there is the salt, and that'll season it perfectly, and you won't have to worry about how much salt to put in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now, and also what I do is right at the end just put a squeeze of lemon in as well. But that's just
And it really is as simple as that, isn't it?
As simple as that.
So it is technique more than probably anything.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Normally what I can do is I tip that water out and I just put the bowl on there. When you're at home, you can just do that. But I need that water in a second for poached eggs. So this is where I want to put it in nice and slow, because if I pour it in, see how that oil is developing on the top?
Sure.
That'll turn it back into oil, basically. So we're making an emulsion just like mayonnaise, but we're making a warm one, which is a little bit less stable than mayonnaise.
But with the bacteria, obviously, and I'd never thought of that.
So that's the water that I'm adding at the end there, and that's got the seasoning in it. So that there is the perfect amount of salt. And that's a really easy trick for people to know, because adding the salt at the end, you sort of have to guess. And now I'll just put a little bit of lemon juice in there, and that just freshens it up.
That's great.
Well.
We just sort of...
Yeah, and we just mix that through, and that's done. And that'll stay for 2 hours is a safe amount of time. You could probably stretch it as long as you don't stick your finger or anything.
Right.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
So if we were making this at home, Cam, we really should prepare it the morning that we can put aside, but within that 2 or 3 hours, we really should use it.
Yeah, you want to do it just before. It'll be nicer anyway, because it'll keep warm, and you can't put it back on here because that'll break it. You can't put it in the fridge. You have to keep it somewhere slightly warm, put a cover on it. Yeah, it'll keep it right.
Grab a tablespoon and eat till your heart's content.
Yep,
right,
so
let's do an egg.
Yep. Now, fresh eggs, very important again. Fresher the better, because they'll hold together in the water. What I've got in there is about a litre of water, and I've got a tablespoon of vinegar, just plain old cheap cleaning vinegar.
Okay.
That'll stop the egg whites from turning into just cloudness.
Okay.
So I'm stirring that helps. So just careful, it's hot. So what I'm going to do is when I put that in, it's moving. That'll hold the egg in suspension and it'll keep it nice and round. And we'll see when
you've made a whirlpool.
Yeah, basically made a whirlpool, yeah. I'm just going to put that in there if that's all right. So I'm going to put a couple in, and I'll do this when I'm working too, because I know I'm going to use the egg in a minute. I'll just put a safety one in. We only really need 2. There we go. And that'll be 2 minutes. Thanks, Paul. So while that's cooking, do you want to do salmon?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. So here's Stewart Island salmon from very cold water, Fogo Strait. Brought to New Zealand in the 1800s from very cold water up north. So it's Not really a native, but it's close enough. It's living in the environment, so it's very sustainable. Very good choice in fish. You know, they're not going to be over-farmed anytime soon because they're introduced anyway. So when I'm doing smoked salmon, as you can see here, with 2 different ways we serve it, with poached eggs with hollandaise, that's eggs benny, or we do it here hot smoked salmon, where it's actually being warmed up in the oven and sitting on some pesto potatoes and things.
Ooh,
both of those will get hollandaise on top of them.
Sure,
Yep.
okay.
So what I do is, this is about a 3-day process. I get the salmon like this, I'll take it off the bone, I've already done that obviously. I get a mixture of half flaky salt and half brown sugar.
Yeah.
Yep, so that's your fancy salt, for lack of a better word. So what I'm going to do is just rub it on the top, so quite a lot in this thickest part, and then a little bit less down on the belly and the tail. And then that'll sit in the fridge for a day in the tray. And then after a day I flip it over, because the water that will come out of it is, it creates like a natural brine, which is what we do when we're curing fish. So if you're doing like a gravlax or something like that, that's just brined, it hasn't been smoked or anything, and then that's just ready to go.
So you're saying the process takes about 3 days?
It takes me 3 days. You can do it quicker, but I find with this salmon, it's living in that really nice cold water, it's really fatty, and it takes a little bit longer just to get to the state we want it. But yeah, 3 days is good, yeah. So, but if you're doing this at home again, you just get a little piece, you can do exactly the same thing. I'm being really careful with this because I don't want to spread sugar all over the floor, but you can get a little bit more crazy. So that's enough right there. So that'll sit for a day, so I'll just put it back in the tray. Careful, throw sugar everywhere, and that'll sit for a day. Next day I'll flip it over and sit it for 2 more days, and then that liquid in the bottom will brine it all and it'll get right in there, and it's a process of it actually absorbing back the sugar and the salt into the meat, and that's a preservative, so that's why it lasts a little bit longer. We're going to get those eggs out of there now.
Oh.
Yeah, do you want to do that?
Yeah, go on.
And just put it onto the towel, so we just drain the water off, because if you put that straight on toast now, you get wet toast.
Sure, which is what I do badly at home.
Yeah, so this is an important step as well. You just put it there, you can flip it over, make sure there's no water on there. So that's like a 2-minute egg, that's nice and soft. Right, so if we're doing our eggs benny with poached eggs, we'll put 2 poached eggs right on top like that. You can just get rid of that little bit there. So that's it. And then we've got our hollandaise to go on top. Just like that. And then if I was to serve this one, I'd put this one on top as well. Now you don't want this to be super hot, because this sauce will split back to oil if you do it. So just, you know, warm enough to put in your mouth, but no more.
Okay, the perfect hollandaise sauce with the perfect poached eggs. I'm very impressed.
You can do that at home.
Thank you, Cam.